Welcome to another episode of the Shakedown podcast. With me, as always, my brethren, my colleagues, my compadres, and my peers, the Right Honourable Sir Baxty, and the legend that is Lenny. How are we doing, good sirs? It doesn't matter how you are doing, for there are very many F1-centric threads at which we need to pull. Sir Baxty, I'm coming to you first. Give me a pick for the Grand Prix upcoming in Abu Dhabi and a pick for the Drivers' Championship. Who have you got, sir?
Okay, so I think for the race, I'm going to go for Max. I I think it's close between them and him and the McLarens. I think they'll be pretty evenly matched on pace. He's very strong round here. I think last year was a bit of an exception because he clattered into Oscar into turn one and ruined his race. But I think he'll win the race, but I think the McLarens will have enough pace, and that will mean that Lando, I think, will win the drivers. But I can see him finishing third and only winning it by 2 points.
Oof. Techie. Go on and talk to me, Lenny. Who you got, chap?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. An interesting title fight, three-way title fight. Max, Oscar, Lando. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Race win, though. I think we've got to go with Lando with the momentum. Obviously leading the championship. I think he takes it. I think Lando wins and obviously wins the world championship as well. I'm going for a double Lando victory this week in Abu Dhabi. I think as Batsy mentioned, pace is going to be there for both men. It's going to be an interesting title fight. If there is someone to put pressure on Lando this weekend, it's got to be Max Verstappen.
I mean, you boys, are we writing off Max in the championship, lads? Haven't we learned anything season to date? What are we doing here?
I think the ladder is too tall to climb for Max Verstappen. It's too tall at this moment of time.
Mate, what are we doing here? Listen, look, I understand that Lando Norris, as of the time of writing, is a big betting favourite. Odds on, wins 72% of the time. I get it. But how many times have we said that this season, that Max should have no chance, and yet and still he goes and makes the impossible seem almost probable? Like, I don't know. Are you guys... Look, Baxter, are we really smart in writing off Max Verstappen for the championship?
Well, I've got him winning the race, which gives him a chance. The thing is, him and Oscar have the easiest job this weekend. Stick it on pole, win the race. That's their aim. That's all they have to do, and hope that Lando screws up behind. Because, if Oscar beats Max, Max doesn't win, and if vice versa. So that's the simple job. Lando's the one with the pressure that he's like, oh, does Lando sit off and everything else? Lando being Lando, his attitude will be, I'm just going to go there to win. He dominated the race last year. I don't think he does that this year. I think the Red Bull is a much better car than it was 12 months ago. No, I'm not writing off Max at all. Anything is possible. We've just seen that in Qatar. We've seen McLaren fumble the bag. Taking away an easy 1-3, basically ruling Max all but out, and then all of a sudden you're giving him more room to maneuver, and it's just ridiculous strategy decisions by McLaren last weekend.
And herein lies the issue, is it not, Lenny, that there is something about McLaren where it seems like they've become experts at seizing defeat from the moors no jaws of victory. Mark Hughes writes in a recent Motorsport magazine article that Verstappen heads to Abu Dhabi 12 points behind Lando Norris and 4 in front of Oscar Piastri. The numbers still favour Lando Norris, but there does seem to be an inevitability about the way events are conspiring to give Max Verstappen opportunities. Let me ask you the question this way, Lenny. Do you think McLaren have the minerals to get this over the line? Bearing in mind it feels like they've made a gazillion mistakes over the past 3 or 4 races. The bloody pit stop, not pitting or not making a stop, a discounted pit stop over the course of the Qatar Grand Prix, when it seemed ostensibly very obvious that was the apex predator strategy.
I feel like that's been the question for the last 10 races. Does McLaren have the minerals? And what has been the hot topic for in the last 10 races? McLaren have outdone themselves over and over again in some way. They've bottled it. And Qatar last weekend was the main event, should we say, the main event of all bottleness. It was ridiculous. the strategy call from McLaren was just it was diabolical, wasn't it, fellas? I think that's the only way to put it. And if they go on to lose this and Max pulls it back, they will look about that point. That's where they lost this championship in Qatar at that pit stop. The fact that they didn't come in is absolutely absurd. As Mr. Peter Windsor said, a free pit stop, a Christmas present, take it. And they didn't even take it. They didn't even bring at least one of them in. Just roll the dice. It's F1. It's all about rolling the dice, seeing what happens. And they didn't even roll the dice once. I think it's ludicrous. And if they do go on to lose this the World Championship, obviously, the Drivers' Championship, to Max Verstappen this weekend, I think they look back at that call in Qatar and realize that, it's a fault of their own why they're not lifting that championship.
Touche, sir.
Twofold, because I will say the double DQ in Vegas as well. I mean, Max was pretty much dead at that point when Lando crossed the line. He was still, was it 49 points behind or something? So yeah, it was, or 39. He was a long way back basically, and it was like, well, Lando just needs to sort of just finish in Qatar and he's pretty much champion, and then all of a sudden the double DQ comes in and you're like, oh, okay, well, they can't screw it up in Qatar. Oh, yes, they can. So, and we've seen strategy go awry in Abu Dhabi before. You think of 2010, you think of Red Bull and Ferrari messing up Alonso and Webber to basically hand Vettel the title. So, it is possible, but I just think how strong that McLaren car is, I think they should be okay, but stranger things have happened in Formula One.
Yeah. And I feel like this is going to work in Max's favour. Sorry, Cameron, but I feel like this is going to work in I was about to say Cameron's favour, in Max's favour, because now McLaren are going to overthink any call, two times over, three times over, because they've made that massive mistake in Qatar. Any call they make now, they're going to be thinking about it. Is this the right decision? And that just doubt. There's a lot of doubt in McLaren's mind, and I think that's going to work in Max's favour this weekend, because are they making the right call or not? We're going to find out. It's going to be an interesting race.
And I think if we're talking about doubt, surely we've got to have a word about Lando Norris. Now, he cut a very confident figure in the presser this morning, but isn't the question, Baxter, about Lando not about how good or bad he is, because he's a brilliant peddler when he's at his Weetabix, sans pressurised circumstance, but whether Lando can handle the not insubstantial pressure of a season finale when we're having the conversation under the aegis of a World Drivers' Championship. His first one, by the way. Can Lando handle this, Baxter?
I'm going to be a little bit sit on the fence here and say I don't know, because we've never seen him in that position. We've seen him face big races. I mean, I don't think he did anything massively wrong last weekend. Okay, look, he lost the position to Max at the start, but I think his pace was good. And then he just got undone by a strategy decision that also affected his teammate. And gift wrapped a win to Max. Max has had a couple of gift wrap wins in his career, and I think that's right up there. But driving wise, I think his qualifying pace was very strong. His race pace was good. I think the second stint was a little bit questionable, but I think he will be okay. I think we're going to hear a lot of radio with Will Joseph, kind of sort of giving him a little bit of reassurance, which is, I don't particularly like that when it comes to Lando, but I mean, you just have to go and look at the situation he was in Mexico and Brazil, when he's been the one chasing and actually driving really, really well. I rate that Brazil weekend incredibly highly from him. I think it was his best weekend of his career, because he'd taken the lead of the championship for the first time, and we thought, oh, how's he going to handle that? And actually, he handled it brilliantly. He handled it so well. So he's definitely changed his mental, worked on the mental side of his game. He's stronger than he's ever been. But this is a unique pressure that only Max out of these three has experienced, in that this is a final decider for the title. And every little thing you do is going to be taken apart, micro-analysed, like more so than any other weekend.
Baxter, I'll see that and raise you this, mate. I don't think Lando was good at all last race weekend. He was, he'd been brilliant the previous two or three. Like, there's no way that I saw or could forecast that he'd get through to turn one in Mexico first. 800 metres worth of turn of running there.
Technically didn't, because there were a few cars that went past him, but off the road. But you get it. You get the pertinent point. He ultimately made it into turn one, which is exactly what Lando struggles to do sometimes. But then we get to Qatar,
And it's like, well, mistake after mistake during FP1 and 2 and 3, offs for days.
I will cut him some slack on the start. He was on the dirty side of the track, and everybody on that side of the track lost position. Being on the clean side of the better side of the track really worked. I mean, George Russell lost so many positions on that first lap, so it was definitely a disadvantage to be there, more so than normal in Qatar, actually.
True, but why, Sir Baxley, was he on the dirty side of the grid in the first instance?
He'd done a very good lap first up, and then he made a small error in qualifying, which, okay, look, I'm not saying it was a perfect weekend, but I think that the downfall of his weekend was not of his doing. That was McLaren's doing, and I think he could have easily come home in third place and had a much more comfortable position going into this weekend. But unfortunately, McLaren didn't do him any favours. Though Kimi Antonelli definitely helped him, and I don't mean deliberately. I'm just saying his mistake helped him. But
it's techie. It is techier than techie things. I'm keen to see how this plays out. Lenny, let me ask you this question, mate. Specifically around the pit stop strategy. Jolyon Palmer came out and said that McLaren potentially didn't do anything wrong as far as not pitting both McLaren drivers, that everybody wants to be a Monday morning quarterback, and that had other people pitted, as an example, that they might have looked like they were geniuses. Buying or selling that, Lenny?
Selling, complete sell. That is ludicrous. If that's a market, that's crashed already. That's ridiculous. What sort of statement is that? Like I mentioned earlier, rolling the dice once, at least with one of them. That's a hard sell, that, Cameron. They had to roll the dice at least once. I hope they make amends this weekend, sort of learn from these mistakes, because as mentioned, it's a big championship decider. They need to fix these mistakes, and as mentioned, they're going to be thinking about Annie's decision twice, 3 times in a row. But yes, absolutely selling. As I mentioned, if that's a market, that's crashed, sold, burnt. It's not. We're not having any of that.
1929 settings.
It felt like McLaren were thinking that they had a Mercedes rocket ship a la 2014 to 2018, and that they would just be able to drive past people. It's like, you haven't had that all year. Like, maybe in Miami was the only time they had that level of pace over the rest of the field. But yeah, no, it was, you can't do that in this era of Formula One.
I can't believe he's even said that. They've gone on to lose the race.
I know.
That
should have been an easy
they've
one
lost
too.
the race.
It should have been an easy one too, really. But incompetence, absolute incompetence. I wouldn't even say it was papaya rules. We need to treat them fairly. No, they just screwed it up.
So go on then, Baxley. Let me ask you, let's double click on that for a second, because the reason why, a lot of people have said the only reason, okay, let's sack off Oscar. You can say don't pit Oscar because of track position advantage, get it, whatever. But Lando, the only reason why you don't pit Lando is because you want to be seen to be treating both drivers equally, to my mind. Do you think going into Abu Dhabi then, Sir Baxley, that potentially they could lose this championship because they say that they're going to treat both of their drivers equally? Or are they selling us wolf tickets? Do you think in the dying embers, if Oscar Piastri has in his hands the championship for Lando Norris, that they'll call him over, team orders, get out the way, Oscar, Lando needs to win a championship here?
100% they'll do that. And I think, and I'll go a step further, I think Oscar complies, because I think Oscar will think, well, we've worked so hard as a team to get here. And also, I'm going to put myself in Andrea Stella's situation here. If I say to Oscar, right, look, Oscar, you cannot win this championship, so we're going to move you over because the team needs to win a championship here, and we think that we can if we do this, or we know that we can if we do this. If Oscar doesn't comply and goes full Mark Webber Brazil 2012, then I'm ripping up his contract and saying you're out.
Oof.
And we've got Leonardo Fornaroli, who's just won F2. We'll chuck him in next year, change our setup, have Lando as a clear number 1 and Leo as a decent compliant number 2. But yeah, if that situation arises, McLaren will do it, and I have every confidence that Oscar will comply because it's in his best interest too.
Lenny, would you comply? Were you Oscar Piastri?
It depends what sort of situation I'm in. If I'm Oscar Piastri, who potentially has maybe 1 foot out the door at McLaren, and it's one race left to go, I'm thinking, all right, I want to win a world championship. In my last season at McLaren against Lando Norris, I think I would go balls to the walls. I would look to that for that world championship, and it's any means must in this game. Unfortunately, it's a very, very selfish game. Is the F1? Yes, you're a team, but you got to think about yourself at the end of the day. And I do feel like Oscar he is a bit of a nice guy, isn't he? He's a bit of a nice guy to talk to, and I feel like he would comply with it. But if there was championship was online, I think Oscar Piastri would. It's all for himself. He has to take the opportunity. If I was Oscar Piastri and I potentially had 1 foot outside the door, that the rumors maybe happens, but I think Oscar Piastri should race this weekend. And if there is an opportunity that presents itself, he has to race Lando Norris hard.
And this is the thing. Like, I think McLaren have been very careful in the way that they've worded this. I know Lando and Oscar were trying to play it down in the presser, but I think actually they've said, look, we're going to give them every opportunity to race. But if the situation arises where, you've got Max winning the race, let's say George Russell second, and then you've got Oscar, Lando, and you need to switch Lando and Oscar around for Lando to win the championship, McLaren, I think, will have no hesitation and they will do it. I think Oscar will comply, but I think he will instruct his manager to find him a new drive for 2027, and I don't think he'll be short of suitors. Yeah.
But hang on, Baxter. Wasn't it Zach Brown saying that he would rather lose the championship, rather have Max Verstappen beat them and win himself his 5th Drivers' Championship than pick favourites? Didn't he say that on the Beyond the Grid podcast the other day? So,
I mean, he did, but when are we believing a word Zach Brown says?
True.
Let's be honest.
So therein lies the... So Baxi, this is the issue then, isn't it? That Zach Brown wants to do this big, sexy global PR tour and make out like everything's kumbaya, McLaren, papaya rules, that all drivers are created equal, brackets, but some drivers are created more equal than others. And then his actions don't match up to his words. Baxley, is this the reason why so many neutrals have started to boo the McLaren drivers and come around to Maximilian Verstappen, rooting for Max desperately to put his foot on the rhetorical necks of McLaren? Well, Baxter, have I lost you, mate?
I think he might have been gone.
Oh,
but I'll answer that.
Go on. Go for it, Lenny.
Absolutely. I mean, for a fan of the F1, who doesn't want Max Verstappen to win? Baxley is back, but I'll continue. Then we'll throw over to Baxley. Max Verstappen, as you mentioned earlier on, one of the greatest, if not the greatest peddler in an F1 car. I feel like that's why everyone likes him. Everyone likes him because he's likable as well. He's such a nice guy. If you like it, you look at his press conferences, comes across nice. For some people might say it's arrogance, but I say it's confidence. He knows what he can do at the wheel, and that's why I like him, because he's a confident man. There was once upon a time, I'm going to throw back to this, my first MMA reference. And once upon a time, there was a guy called Conor McGregor, and he was a confident talker, but he got the job done. That was a prime Conor McGregor. Now we've got I would say a prime Max Verstappen who talks confidently, but although he talks confidently, he gets the job done in the corners of the track in the F1 Formula 1. That's why I think people like him. And I think if you look at Lando, he's going on British Vogue, looking like this superstar that maybe he's not there.
Oh, preach. Baxter, let me pitch to you then, chap. The question that I asked, mate, before your connection went down was this. Is the reason why so many neutrals are rooting for Max Verstappen to keep his foot on the rhetorical necks of the McLaren drivers? Because they're disingenuous, aren't they? They keep putting their thumb on the weighing scales of competition. Monza, Australia.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that people want to see... I think the tipping point was Monza. I think with that ridiculous decision that they made, I can't find anyone that thought that was a good decision. It was just so stupid. I mean, we know that the Mexican fans booed him purely because of that, which is a bit silly. That wasn't really Lando's fault. That was McLaren's fault. But
he's the benefactor, isn't he, Baxter? That's the issue, chap. I think Baxter's frozen again. Go on then, let me read this out. Although Max has clearly been the best, if Lando does win, he deserves credit. Let's go, Mac. I don't hate it. He has made less mistakes than Lewis in 21, yet gets far more criticism. Oh, the humanity. I don't even know where to go with that, Mac. There is not enough time left in the podcast. Lenny, let me pitch this at you a different way. I want to talk very briefly about Max Verstappen being paired up. Baxter, you've come back, mate. Hang on, let me do one of these while we fix this in the background. We have technical difficulties. Hang on. Team Group 3, Baxter stream in front of us. Lenny, you still there, chap?
I am.
Right, let me do something very quickly because it's gone. Here we go. Right, so I've just got me and you, chap. Right, go on then. Let me pitch this at you. Let me pitch this at you this way, chap. This is important. Isaac Hadjar gets announced to Red Bull, Oracle Red Bull Racing in 2026. It's been a poison chalice hitherto. Sonoda tried and failed. So too, Liam Lawson tried, failed. Danny Rick tried and failed. Mexican Minister of Defense Checo Perez tried and failed. Do you think Isaac Hadjar, rookie season, has shown enough that he'll have the requisite minerals to challenge and do well in the second seat alongside Max Verstappen in 2026?
That's how it looks right now as he's in the Racing Bull car. As you mentioned there, all the legendary names, Daniel Ricciardo, as you mentioned there, everyone that stepped into this Red Bull car, Oracle Red Bull car, alongside Max Verstappen, tried and failed. That was the same sentence you repeated every time there. I'm going to be saying this time next year, Isaac Hadjar tried and failed. I think that's how it's going to be because, as Checo Perez said on an interview, having Max Verstappen in a second seat and next year in Red Bull, it's an impossible task. And that's how it is, unfortunately. Max Verstappen is not only the A side, he's the B side, the C side, the D side, all the way down to the S. And Isaac Hadjar, unfortunately, is like the Z side. It's an impossible task for him to even sort of get into that Red Bull racing car. They're going to try and build a car around Max Verstappen, not the second driver, whoever that may be. Obviously, it is Isaac Hadjar. They're not building a car around Isaac Hadjar. They're building a car around Max Verstappen because they know what he can possess in a 4x4 racing wheel car.
Oh, mate, you're not buying into the conspiracy theories then, Lenny?
No.
You think they're all getting equal machinery?
Come on, Cameron. We're not as silly as that. We're not as silly.
Go on then. I want to talk to you very quickly as we round third base about something that's quite important here. Kimi Antonelli got quite a few. I don't want to say AB is probably the word. Threats. People weren't too happy with the behaviour, that he was quite weak in his defence of Lando Norris in the dying embers of Qatar. But F1 fans have themselves a habit of probably taking it too far. We're very passionate. We call it the footballification of Formula One, Lenny. What do you make of fans and the way that have treated an 18-year-old Kimi Antonelli as a rookie? Do you think this time that fans have overstepped the line, that this is footballification gone wrong, and the F1 fans need to have themselves a little bit of respect for Kimi Antonelli in his maiden voyage, Lenny?
Yes, I feel like there has to be some sort of middle ground, but I also present this point of, unfortunately, he's thrown himself into the Formula One seat. He's got to that seat, and now he's under the pressure and all the fans, the eyes on him. And now sort of we're talking about people like maybe with too much pressure. He's in Formula One, Cameron. This is one of the most prized seats. Well, there's 24 of them now. 24 prized seats in the whole of racing. This is where you want to be. Now he's getting there. Now all of a sudden the pressure is too much. Cameron, this is Formula One, as I mentioned. This is the best racing series that there is in the world. Once you get into the seat, there's going to be millions of eyes on you. How much does Formula One pull in terms of viewers each year? It's going to happen. There's going to be your doubters. As an avid West Ham fan, I see a youngster come through, and if they're terrible, I got to be like, oh, they're terrible. I don't really want to see them in a West Ham top. Again, it's just the way it is, Cameron. And as you mentioned, football, the stylistic of football fans in F1, for me, I don't want to see it, but I think it's just the way it is, isn't it? There's too many eyes on Formula One now. I felt like the supply and the demand has just got way too much. Basically, the Formula One sport is ridiculously big, and that's why these fans are sort of getting under the nails of Kimi Antonelli and sort of scrutinizing him. But yeah, an 18-year-old lad, he will learn from these mistakes. He will take the Lando Norris. He was getting scrutinized. He was getting booed, and look how he turned that around. He's won, and he in the lead of the championship. Kimi Antonelli needs to look at these sort of look at Lando Norris to see how he's doing it to kind of improve his game. But an 18-year-old lad who's getting scrutinized like that, he's only going to learn from this, and he's going to be able to learn to deal with it. He's in Formula One, the 24 best seats in racing, and he's in one of them. He's got to make it count.
Go on then, mate. Let's double click on this very quickly, because when I chat to a friend of the channel, Peter D. Windsor, infinitely more wise and close to this circumstance that we call F1, and he always says booing fans is abhorrent. I chatted to the guys over at Red Flags, and their opinion was almost orthogonal to Peter Windsor. They said that booing is booing. This is pant-wetting cinema and theatre. And of course, if they put up Lando Norris on the stage and he's getting a cheeky podium, and I don't like what McLaren have done, then I'm going to boo them. On which side of that fence, Lenny, do you sit, good sir?
I'm happy for the fans to boo, and if I'm in Lando Norris's seat, should we say, and I'm getting booed, you got to play the character, Cameron. You've got to play that man.
Oh, tell me.
there was a wise man in WWE, The Rock or John Cena. They played that villain. You've got to play the man and play the role that they want you to play, and take it with your stride. They don't want to see you win, and he's going to potentially do that this week in Abu Dhabi. I don't mind the booing. I think it just, as you mentioned, the Red Flag guys, good friend of the channel, they put it, perfectly. It's cinema. Someone mentioned, obviously, entertainment and a sport. I think Formula One is both. It's entertainment and sport. You get the entertainment from the sport. It just makes sense. And I feel like, as you mentioned here, F1 is cinema. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It's just cinema. And I don't mind the booing. Football fans boo everyone. Dwayne The Rock Johnson once got booed in WWE, and he's one of the most likable characters in entertainment. It's just the way it is. I think Lando Norris needs to expect that and play the role of the pantomime villain. It's just the way it's going to be.
Double down, therefore. Go full heel, Lando Norris.
That's it. There we go.
Yeah, but he's not. Oh, this is techie. Lenny, I don't think we're ready for this. So this is where me and you are always going to have conflict and friction, right? Because you're a diehard MMA guy. Likes of Conor McGregor would weaponize the heel role.
Colby Covington.
Oh, mate.
Turn the lights off. Let the lights go black.
Yeah.
The lights come on. Music on. There we go. Lando Norris appears.
A bit of
play the role.
Yeah, Kobe and Chet. But we're not there yet. Lenny's the problem with Formula One. We're 10, 15 years behind other sports that weaponise these. You saw the driver's press conference earlier on this morning. Again, had that been Connor or a Chael or somebody, they would have been streaming that all over the YouTubes, and millions of people would have been watching it. But the F1's not there yet, Lenny. We fail to expedite for our promotional learning curve. Promotional malpractice is the gift that they gave us.
So I propose you this, Cameron.
Let's go.
Why is Formula One not in that position like MMA then?
I think there's the stiff upper lip, right? We've been an English gentleman's game for the longest time, and there is like a, not a false seeming, there's a sports etiquette to this thing that we call F1. It's always been stiff upper lip and the driving gloves and 1951 and Fangio and a scar. Do you know what I mean? It's always been that, and I feel like there is still value in that as far as F1's concerned, but it's not. I don't know, Lenny. It's not. We're just not there, bro. We're not there. We're not there. When I watch the classic interviews and Connor, your site, Connor, who the fuck is that guy, and bloody Marshawn Lynch and saying, I'm only here so I don't get fined, and Alan Iverson saying, what would he be talking about here? Practice. I just don't think we're there yet. With Netflix Drive to Survive, we're getting there. They've expedited for F1's learning curve to the tune of like 3 or 4 or 5 years, but we're just not there. I think the reason, Lenny, the honest answer to your exam question is this, good sir. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills. Your Colby can't afford to be talking to not go hard at each and every single juncture. Can't afford to make a misstep on his lines because he's only getting paid like 10 and 10. Do you know what I mean? No, he can't. But these guys, Lando Norris is getting paid like 30 million a year for potentially not winning a title. So Lando doesn't need to do anything. That's why they go to the press conferences and just talk among themselves, Lenny. The root of all evil here is money, and they're not incentivized to make some waves and some viral moments in the press. Why? Because they don't need to, because they're caked. That's why.
There was a bit of a viral video, and it was Lando Norris ultimately playing the villain last week. You know what I'm talking about. After I think it was after qualifying or after the race, him and Russell having a little altercation there. That's the villain that we are asking Lando to play, is it no?
Yeah, true. But he doesn't play it very well, does he, Lenny? Is the problem. It doesn't. It's not him in his natural skin. It's you can see there he was doing the victim thing. He was like, you're not gonna. The media always talk bull feathers. Lando Norris said, "You're not gonna believe them over me, George. I'm your friend." He's an uncomfortable skin. He can't do the Connor thing, Lenny. He's just a bit. No, I don't think he's a natural heel. I think he's one of these. He's a born babyface, but I agree with what you're saying, Lenny. He should go heel, but he doesn't have it in him. His heart is too pure. You know what I mean? I don't think he can do it.
If Lando goes heel, we talked about the difference between MMA and obviously F1. I'm sorry for the fans that probably talk about it, but if Lando goes heel and sort of ultimately produces that character, do you think that will ultimately push the sport of F1 even more so?
I think we need a couple more heels. Lenny's the honest truth, chap. We do need it can't just be Max Verstappen carrying the heel burden. There needs to be a few more. Everybody can't be a babyface, is the truth. Yeah, it would be beautiful. It would be a thing of beauty if Lando Norris did turn heel. But I just don't think he has it, Lenny. I think we're expecting, like with Lando Norris's performances over the past week and potentially this week, I think we're expecting things from Lando Norris that he might not have the minerals to deliver upon. That's my problem with Lando. Expecting Lando to turn heel, hasn't got it. Expecting him to deliver under pressure, the not insubstantial circumstance and stakes that come with a season finale at Abu Dhabi. I don't think that's Lando Norris. I think he might struggle this weekend, Lenny, because of that reason. When he's got Max Verstappen breathing down his neck, I think it could be problems for him, chap. Genuinely, gonna get.
And I think this is the point that I raised to you, Cameron. I feel like you've said that previewing every race that you feel like Lando Norris hasn't got the minerals, hasn't got the start, and then stuck it on pole. And obviously last weekend, lost position to Max Verstappen. But how has Lando Norris's starts improved over the last 5-6 weeks? They're looking good, and I feel like every time we see a recap, Cameron, you say, "All right, he's getting better now. He's getting better." So I feel like he's gonna start well this weekend, Cam.
Yeah, no, they did look good, Lenny. They looked good until you had Max Verstappen breathing down his neck, and then all of a sudden, it was like as you were. Lando Norris 1.0. Lando Norris 2.0 was nowhere to be seen. So I think it's one thing to say when Lando puts it on pole and he's got Oscar behind him or George behind him, then he can breathe easy, mate. And he's Connor at the press conference, isn't he? His shoulders are all pushed back and he's wearing the Gucci fur and all this stuff. Like then he's Lando Norris 2.0. But the second that Max Verstappen is in his rear view, Houston, we have a problem. And I think if Max was here's the problem for Lando. If Lando drops it on pole and behind him is Max Verstappen, crumble settings, Lenny. Take that one to the bank, chap. Like he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. He can't slay for the Max Verstappen dragon. He's not there yet, chap. If you look at him going into turn 4 at Qatar, he's just like Max is just selling him dummies. He's playing he's checkmating 4 moves when Max is behind him, and that's the problem for me, chap. I just don't think he's and you know what, to broaden out the point ever so slightly, Lenny, this is why so many F1 aficionados are saying, well, Max Verstappen's the deserving champ. He's been the difference when he didn't have a car at Saudi or at the British Grand Prix in qualifying or in Suzuka. He's the one who's been the difference. And that's why so many people, I think, are booing Lando and booing McLaren, because they feel like Max Verstappen is the deserving champion by dint of his merits, as near as makes no difference all season long. It's going to get techie, mate. It is going to get techie.
That is a good point. I feel like with Max, he's not relying on the team as much, whereas in the case of Norris's and Piastri's team, Norris and Piastri, they are relying more heavily on the team at McLaren, and that's probably where it's all going wrong.
Fast car privilege, mate. Fast car privilege, and Max hasn't had the car all season long, and that's why he's almost like he's the Joker in this narrative. Yeah. People are rooting for him because he's been afflicted by the fast car privilege of a Lando and an Oscar. It's going to get techie, mate, going into... are you placing any bets, Lenny?
Notoriously, I'm not a betting man, and I know I'm sad for that. But if I'm placing a bet, I think I've got to go with Lando Norris to win the race and world Grand Champ. I think the obstacle of Max and Oscar to climb is way too heavy. But if, like I mentioned at the start, if there is one person to do it, his name is Maximilian Verstappen. In the name of Cameron Verstappen. It is Maximilian Verstappen to do it. As you mentioned, if Lando sticks it on pole and we get a Max Verstappen in P2, crumbles. And like you mentioned last week before the race, imagine Lando Norris sleeping at night with Max Verstappen behind him, a fire-breathing dragon. Now imagine Lando Norris sleeping at night with Max Verstappen behind him, but the championship is on the line, and it's the last race of the season. Three-way title fight this weekend, first since 2010. It's a big moment, Cameron, and that's only what probably will come if it's a P1, P2 McLaren. I think there's a bit of wiggle room for Norris to kind of breathe a little bit.
Mate, it's going to get techie. Let me read out some of these comments as we round third base. Rob says it's not making it WWE or even MMA with insulting, but F1 drivers are all friends now. We need heated rivalries. Yeah. We need hatred. They don't have to even talk publicly. It's a shame that, Rob. It's a big shame that there's not this needle. I mean, the last time that we had proper needle was, 2021, saying how was that season one of the best that we've ever seen, if I recall. John says Vince McMahon incoming. All this hate, says Easy G, will just make it that much sweeter. Easy G, you got your boy Lando. How confident are you, Easy G? This is the problem, mate. I just feel like there's been a lot of failure at McLaren over the past couple of weeks, and I just think past this prologue, mate, you wouldn't bet against a similar outcome this race weekend. It's techie. Lenny, you've been a legend as always. So Baxty, I'm gutted about your connection, but we will continue next time. So to each and every single one of you out there, legends one and all, we'll be live 30 minutes before FP1, 2 and 3. If there's a car out on track, we'll be out here streaming. I promise you. We'll get techie things as we go into the race weekend. Remcon says, I agree, Cam. I like sports etiquette, being able to talk to the Ferrari fan on my left and the Merc fan on my right instead of the F side across wanting to bash my head. I don't hate it, Remcon, but sometimes you can. Is there such a thing as too nice? I think there's when there is I think they call it good heat, right? That's what we want, but it's the atmosphere and the tension that I think might propel F1 to the next level, just as it did in 2021. But I digress. You've been legends, each and every single one. I appreciate all of you to the moon and back. Between now and next time, the prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.